Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to this new edition of Drive Time here on what do we have to January 5th, 2026. Happy New Year, everybody. We've got a lot to get to, so we're going to get to it. Scooter's off on assignment today. There was a trooper that passed away up there in the area that I think that he knew, and their services are today. So we wish them all the best of luck. He may pop in later, but I doubt it, but we'll see. But I am joined here, of course, with good old Showtime Sarah. How are we doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
No, we're here and we actually have temperatures in the 40s today, so some snow's actually melting out there. So your sister left and then the temperatures warmed up. So
Yeah, it's 52 here. I'm not sure what it's supposed to be for next week,
yeah,
but it's pretty chilly. At
good
least for
stuff.
us.
That's right. Hey, that's all that matters. So, all right, let's get to it here. We got a lot of stuff here to cover. So, we're going to go in kind of a different order here. But before we, of course, get into all that good stuff, we always, you can watch us live, which hopefully you're doing right now on YouTube or Facebook. But you can also listen to us the next day on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pocket Cast, Podbean, Castbox, and Odyssey. So you can actually listen to Drive Time while you're driving. I think that's always a pretty cool thing. So, hopefully you get the chance to do that. If you can't watch us live, there are many other ways to catch out Drive Time and all of your favorite shows here on the Sideline Junkies Network. So now that that part's over with, we're going to start off with our top moments of 2025. We're going to give three of them. I'll go ahead with my third, and then I'll let you chime in, Sarah. And we'll just go that way. We'll go three, 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 two, 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 one, 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 one. So my third is Jen Powell, who was able to was an umpire for the series in Atlanta and Miami. Which she's the first female to be an umpire in Major League Baseball. As far as regular season games, there have been a couple of done training, spring training games, but she was the first to do it in a series and actually did call balls and strikes for one of the games. So another barrier that is broken down, which is always good to see. So that is my number three. And Sarah, what was yours?
Obviously biased, but I put NC State upsetting Georgia Tech in college football. That was the highlight of the season for us. I wasn't expecting much, ACC champions. I wasn't looking for it. But knowing that we at least got one big win, I would say, out of the season makes me pretty happy and confident for next season. So
I wouldn't consider that to be bias at all. I don't know what you're talking about.
I've never shown anything that I like state. Never.
Never, never, ever, ever, never, ever, ever. That's funny. So that's your number three. That was my number three. My number two is, of course, it happened on April 6th of the last year. That was when Alexander Ovechkin passed the great one with goal number 895 against the New York Islanders to take over as the top goal scorer in the NHL. The ceremony, of course, was great. The Ovi's reaction to that goal was priceless, and the heartfelt moments between Ovi and Gretzky throughout that whole entire thing was definitely fun to watch. I am a Gretzky fan. I always gave the tip of the cap to Ovi and how he played. So that is my number two moment of 2025. Sarah, what you got for your number two?
I copied you. I also put Ovi passing Wayne Gretzky in points. Or no, was it goals? It was goals. Sorry, what am I
Goals,
talking?
goals, goals, goals,
What
not
am I
points.
talking about? My
He's
gosh,
not going to be. He's not going to catch him in points.
probably not. But no, I mean, even though I wasn't, all there when Wayne Gretzky started, and all these other great players, watching great players in front of me like Ovi, and way more to list. When we went through our top players overall, um, it's just nice watching history happen. It's always refreshing to be like, yeah, I was alive during this. I was doing this when this happened. It's always a great feeling to have. So knowing that I got to witness history is always a great touch.
It is always, yeah. I mean, I remember some of the ones when Gretzky was going along his lines that I got to watch live. As at that point in time as a kid for a grand majority of them until later on in life as he passed some of the other ones later. But it is always neat when you get to watch somebody that you respect and watch play, and that's probably one of the rarities that I have because I do I barely remember seeing Gordie Howe play, but he was at the very, very end of his career. And then, of course, Lemieux and Gretzky, I got to watch in their prime, and now I'm getting to see Ovi in his prime. So, and the Sidney Crosbys and players like that. So those are the ones that are fun to watch that we get to see here today. So our number 2 is the same. Let's see if our number 1 is the same. My number 1 is, of course, the crazy Game 7 in the World Series. It looked like Toronto was on their way to winning the World Series, and then Rojas hits the homer in the top of the ninth to send it to extras. You have the crazy defensive plays that the Dodgers made in the 10th inning. Then they get the homer in the top of the 11th, and then they survive with another crazy defensive play, and then the double play to end the game and to go back to back. Unfortunately, because I was rooting for Toronto, it is back to back in the World Series, which doesn't happen a lot. But of course now, when you have the money the Dodgers do, who knows? We may be looking at a three-peat this year. But that was my single favorite or best moment to me in 2025, because that game 7 had it all, where both teams were in it back and forth. So that's my number 1. Sarah, what's your number 1?
So I did a different kind of series. I did the Stanley Cup playoffs, where it was Florida versus Edmonton. Obviously, the big moment being Florida winning their back-to-back cup. They are the 2025 Stanley Cup champions. That series was just crazy overall. Did I really want Florida to win just because I don't really like the way they play? Yeah, but we all kind of saw it coming anyways with Florida winning. It was a great game 6. But it's always just nice whenever they move the cup around, they skate the cup around, and just like looking at certain players being like, okay, yeah, they definitely deserve this. It's always nice also looking at like former Canes players getting the cup. I always like enjoying it. A lot of well earned moments for a bunch of those players. Definitely not Matthew Tkachuk though. He didn't deserve it. That's it. That's all I got.
Gonna leave that at there. I was waiting.
I mean, does it count? I feel like he didn't deserve it because.
All right. Well, I guess we can count that here. Hold on here. Let me get that updated here. So let's set that up there. And show. There we go. All right. So there's our first one of that there. Yeah. But hey, I still think Duval Paul would be proud of you. You still gave Florida their props as your number 1 sports moment for 2025. So I think that's a big step for you.
It's my 2026 resolution: be less hateful.
Less. I don't know if we can have a less hate ticker. That I don't think that'll quite do it for. I don't think Midnight Rider would appreciate you having a less hate ticker instead of a hate ticker. That I don't think that'll fly with him.
Okay.
All right. So there's our top 25 moments that we're going to do, and then look, football is going to take over a great majority of the show. I promise you guys that will be coming up here in a little bit. But before we get into the football stuff, I do want to do a quick little hockey segment too, because there is some news. The Winter Classic we talked about before. It happened. Florida beat the Rangers 5-1. In my honest opinion, this game was the dud of all duds for the Winter Classic. Due to the weather, the heat, and the humidity, they had to keep the dome in Miami closed. So it really was just a larger indoor game. I don't know, maybe it's because the Rangers got off to a couple quick goals or what it was, but there just was no energy. Like normally when these Winter Classics happen, like there's just a buzz throughout the entire arena, stadium, whatever ballpark, wherever they're in. That was missing in this game. I mean, it was a snooze fest. The game was a snooze fest. The crowd was never really into it. Even with the Rangers fans there, they didn't, I mean, the Rangers have been in so many of these. It just didn't have that Winter Classic vibe. And I think between it being on TNT and TNT not advertising it, I think, and they really had January 2nd all to themselves. I haven't seen the ratings yet come through yet for it, but I can't imagine that they were good. Because there just was no buzz for this game going into it. There was no buzz on the ice. It just, to me, was a big miss. I get what the NHL is trying to do and growing the game and having these games and in not normal markets, but I think that's what the Stadium Series is better for. I think the Winter Classic needs to be just that. It needs to be a Winter Classic. It needs to be somewhere where it's cold. That's just, and I think this is a big miss in my view. What do you got, sir?
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even watch this. Like you said, just wasn't very advertised well. There was nothing screaming to me being like, I need to watch this. This is an absolute must. Maybe it was on New Year's Day. I feel a little bit better about watching it, but obviously there was still so much going on where it felt difficult to watch that with college football. Because I mean, let's be honest, they wouldn't compete with that. But it just nothing happened. I mean, what did I predict? A 4-2 win. I was one off each side, but I mean, maybe it's the teams. I'm not sure. But like you said, the Winter Classic, I feel like it's supposed to be more. It needs to be like more wintry. It did not feel right being in Hard Rock, and like you said, with a closed roof, the environment wasn't right.
Yeah, we're on the same page on this one. I mean, I did watch a little bit of it. I was kind of flipping back and forth between that and other stuff, but it just didn't have it for whatever reason. So, well, yeah, but and what's also weird is normally at the one Winter Classic they announce the next one. They really didn't do that. I've heard rumors, but I've also seen stuff not agreeing with the rumor of a possible Nashville location site next year in Bristol, Tennessee, with maybe Carolina in it. But then I've seen other sites that said that is not true. So we'll see where they go for next year. Not that Nashville would be a classic site either, but I think again that'd be a stadium series type thing. So we'll see what they end up doing with that. But this one was a miss. I think they need to go back to the classics.
You hear the rumor that the next Winter Classic for 2027 might be in Bristol?
I did, but that's what I mean. But then I've also seen sites that say no. So
yeah, I don't think it's anything confirmed yet, but I feel like that would be better. I mean, maybe because it's against Carolina, maybe I can, we can score it. That's my Christmas present. Okay, if that happens, we get tickets to the Winter Classic. Okay, Paul?
Maybe.
We'll
see. Maybe the third one. We'll see. see if it happens and when and what the heck they charge for that. Then again, too,
right?
that Speedway, some of those tickets are going to be probably where you can't see anything, so it could be bad. So we talked about we're going to do our Olympic special later as we get closer to it, but all the rosters had to go in, and the rosters have come out for the Olympic teams. Now, keep in mind, you're going to see 25 names on these rosters. When it gets time to push comes to shove, these rosters will have to be trimmed some too. So not everyone that is currently on this roster will be able to participate in the games, but this is kind of where we're going right now. So what I pulled up are the 4 teams that were in the 4 Nations tournament. I think realistically, these are the 4 nations that are probably likely to medal. The only one that's not on here is Czechia, and I think that they have a really good shot too. Their lineup's loaded. We'll get to that when we do the full breakdown. But here's Sweden's lineup, and this team is loaded up front now. Landeskog just got hurt against Florida. Surprise, surprise, again against Florida. Not hurt yet on that injury front yet. Their D is really, really strong. Their goaltending is a little suspect. I think of the 4 teams, I would have Sweden at 4 right now. But no real surprises here. I think this lineup is what we expected to see.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely a strong roster. I don't know how this is gonna go. But Landeskog did have to be helped off the ice. I don't think he was actually tripped though. I know we've had those conversations of what Florida plays. I don't think he tripped. I think it was just unlucky, too much momentum. I looked at the clip a little bit. It didn't look like a trip from the angle I had. I don't know if you've seen it. But I think that's another conversation. But it did not look good though.
Yep, I agree with that. Anthony Chimon, welcome back to the show. Anthony, off topic, did you see that Canada got eliminated from the World Juniors? I was going to bring up the World Juniors. Anthony is just going to wait till we got to Canada and U.S. to talk about the fact that the U.S. choked against Finland in the quarters, and once again Canada loses in the semis. So it's another year of the World Juniors without U.S. or Canada in the gold medal game. Canada still will be in the bronze medal game, which is, I think, tomorrow. But yeah, a very disappointing show for both of those two as well. And then Anthony gives us the perfect segue here, talking about what's going to hurt Finland's not having Barkov. That's their superstar and leader of that team, and bringing up Finland. I still think even though they won't have Barkov, this team is pretty loaded. Aho is coming to himself. At least the top three lines have. There's no issue with anyone on these three lines. They're all capable of scoring. The fourth line, we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if Eric Hala doesn't end up making. I think Turbo would be much better in that fourth line spot. Their D are all solid as well, and their goaltending is going to be led by UC Saros, who, Nashville's having a down year. They are still they're kind of coming back up in the standings. UC Saros has been the stud for them that has kept them in games that they had no business being in, and UC Saros can steal games when it comes time when we get into the Olympics. So even though they don't have Barkov, I still have Finland as a strong third team behind obviously Canada and US, but this team is still going to be scary and they know how to play in these tournaments because a lot of these guys have played together in these tournaments before.
Yeah. Like you were talking about Saros, I definitely think he would be the starter in the Olympics, but let's be honest, I don't think Finland's goaltending is as strong as the others compared to, Sweden, US, or Canada. I think it's on the weaker side, and I definitely think that could be a struggle in the near future. Their offense looks great. I mean, you got Aho in there, you got you know my opinion about Hala and Rantanen. You fortunately got them in there, but I have to admit at least Rantanen's good, although I don't like the way he's been playing lately. But great offense. Defense, I think you could definitely move those lines around. I think Heiskanen, well, not Heiskanen Lindell, because that can't really happen. But I think if you move those lines a little bit around more, I would feel a little bit more confident on their defense. But it's still a good match, I would say.
Yeah, and that's a point that Anthony brings up. They have guys that can score. They're not two-way oriented. I would say Finland's D is probably what could be their downfall of the tournament. Again, and we'll
I
get
would say
into this.
D in goaltending, yeah.
See, I don't agree on the goaltending sign because UC is a stud, and
He is, but what if you can't start him the entire
Luukkonen's
time?
No, but Luukkonen's been good too. He's helped turn around Buffalo. So
True.
I think there is options there for them to stay alive. And again, when we get into it, we'll get the big problem for Finland's going to be is what you'll see is the draw. They're in a really tough division, and we'll get into that when we get to the Olympic show. But this roster is still capable of doing many good things when we get to February. Then we get to, of course, the big two. We'll start off with Canada. This I mean, I'm happy for Tom Wilson. I think it was a big mistake of Canada not having Tom Wilson on that team. Then the reason being is that what the four nations tournament showed you is that checking is going to be a big part of it. And you got to remember too, this rink is going to be a little bit smaller. There's going to be some hitting going on. You're going to want guys that can hit. Not only can Tom Wilson do that, but he can also score. Now he did just have an injury too. I've not seen the update on his injury yet to see what that's going to affect for him and if he's going to be able to play or not. And that's why you see so many names still on this, because there are going to be guys that are going to have, that won't be playing because there's still a month left to go in the NHL season where injury is possible. But Crosby is playing almost like he is when he was a kid again. He's on pace to score the second most goals in his career. He could hit 50. He's just slightly off the 50 mark right now for the season. McKinnon, of course, in Colorado has just been crazy. You got Horvat and Reinhardt, who have just been good. And of course, and we haven't gotten to Connor McDavid with Macklin Celebrini, which talk about a line there with those kids. Just crazy what that line's going to be. And then their D is pretty good too. You're led by Kel McCarr. Morrissey's having a great year. Sanheim having a good year. Shea Theodore, you got Doughty on the outside. I think he'll end up being in just because of his experience. And then you got my gut's going to tell me that Logan Thompson and Bennington will be carrying the load because Logan Thompson's been carrying the Caps so far this year, but Darcy Kemper's having a heck of a year in LA. Like this is a great problem to have if you're Canada, because any one of these three goalies can win a game. I mean, Bennington won the Four Nations tournament with a stellar game against the US. So this team is definitely loaded for sure.
Yeah, I agree. The goaltending strong. I don't see really any weak points. Offense, there's much to say. I think from what I saw, I think Horvat was week to week. I'm not sure though. I think they said he's at least out a week, but I don't know if they didn't disclose what kind of injury it is. I'm trying to say. Their defense, I would definitely say, is super like just there's nothing weak here. There's nothing that looks terribly bad. Call me crazy though. I know I never prey on injuries, but I'm obviously biased because I kind of wanted Seth Jarvis to make the Canada Olympic roster. So fingers crossed.
I think he's
It
probably
won't
the
happen.
next
It
man
won't.
up.
Let me live in this delusion that
Yeah,
Seth Jarvis will find a way to squeeze into this roster. Okay, he's got time though. You saw the quote he said. What was it?
yes.
Shit
Something like
sandwich.
yeah, shit. When shit happens, and you got shit sandwich. So, uh, Anthony put in, don't trust the defensive core for Canada for some reason. It's just me matter. You have a lot of trust in this defense, man. I don't think they're bad. That's for sure. I mean, Taze is having a good season. Makar is just a beast. If you watch Colorado, especially when it comes to leading a power play, Makar may be one of the best guys out there. I mean, that shot from the point and he can pass it. Sanheim is sneaky good, and Periaco is having a great year too. So no, I don't have any worries with the defensive core for Canada, and they may have the strongest three goalies. I mean, those three goalies are especially with how they're playing right now. They're all playing lights out hockey. Bennington is again responsible for St. Louis, who looked like they were dead in the water. They're back in it again. Logan Thompson's carrying the Caps, and Darcy Kemper's having a great year for LA. So this team's going to be able to score goals where it may not matter too much what their defense does, because I mean, you're talking about you could throw out a power play one of Crosby, McKinnon, McDavid, and Celebrini with Makar. That's just lethal. It's just lethal.
I would say I don't know if this makes sense, but I would say that their defense is like a good balance of age and rookie. Like you got younger guys like
Yeah,
Makar and Sanheim and Pareko, but you got your older guys like Doughty and Theodore, like
Morrissey.
Morrissey. Like I think
Yep.
it's a good balance, and I think they'll be able to work it out a little bit. It might maybe take a game or two, but I think they got it.
Agree. I think that this roster is poised to go far if it wants to. Then we get to the Team USA, and Guerin hit a little bit of stuff for this. I think he held true to what worked for them in the Four Nations. Like, and there are some names that are are clearly not on here. But I think what he's going for is, again, he's looking for a mix of guys that can score, and then he's also looking for the guys on the third and fourth line that are capable of delivering some hits. Because again, you saw what worked in the Four Nations, and it's going to be similar hockey that's going to work in the Olympics. I have a feeling that the officials are mostly going to, I think if I remember correctly, they're all going to be NHL officials, which probably means they're going to let them play a little bit. I think you're going to see more playoff hockey officiating in this tournament than what you will than if it was straight on officials that are doing just the IIHF stuff. So you look at this team, it's loaded up front too. There's nothing. I got no issues with any of the front guys on here. Maybe one I could see is Vincent Trocheck, but again, I think he's on this team because he can deliver some hits. Robertson's having a great year in Dallas, and he's probably the biggest snub up front. But we'll see where this all goes to with injuries and stuff like that too, because right now still Brady Tkachuk just came back. Matthew Tkachuk is still not playing. He's close. So we'll see where this team goes. The D is probably the strongest of any team. Pardon me, as Gertie just comes flying in here to do her best Chester impersonation. The D is where this team is loaded. Quinn Hughes, Seth Jones. I know there's some concern about Noah Hannafin, but again, he's a D defenseman. He can hit. And then you got Jacob Slavin, who is the best defenseman. I mean, there is no Adam Fox, but again, Fox he's struggling a little bit this year. And then you get into the goalies here too. I mean, there's nothing wrong with any of these three goalies. My only concern on the goaltending is Connor Hellebuyck, Jake Oettinger. Hellebuyck was great in the Four Nations tournament. He maybe, but then again, right in the Stanley Cup playoffs, he went kind of back to struggling a little bit. And same thing for Jake Oettinger. He's had his issues getting over the Edmonton hump, and we'll see if those play out. Jeremy Swayman's been good for Boston. I don't mind the three guys here. The three right guys. I can't think of any goalie that would be better, but I do have concerns about them when it comes time for the big game, just because those concerns have shown themselves when we get to the Stanley Cup playoffs. So, Sarah, what are your thoughts on Team USA?
Um, first of all, like you said, defense, chef's kiss. I don't think there's anything wrong. I'm not familiar with Brock Faber's play, but that's like the only one where maybe I could see you could switch around. But I can't really name anybody at the moment. Offense, it's okay. I would say that they've got their scoring guys, they got their hit guys. I don't know if you want to pull up the comment, but what Anthony says, I'm one of those people that think Robertson was robbed. I definitely see him that he should find a way into this roster, replacing one of the brothers, maybe. This is my opinion. Probably Brady. I would probably say Brady. There's no way that they would take out Matthew, but yeah, I this one doesn't make me feel great that they took out Robbo. Again, he deserves it. He's been playing better than half the guys in this roster. It's just I don't know.
I agree with that as far as like the scoring part of it goes, but Robertson's not really ever been known to be a two-way player, and that's what one of the things Anthony talks about with some of the other guys.
He doesn't have that much.
He is younger. I agree with that, but and I'm not saying that Vincent Trocheck should be on this team. I think that if there's one guy that I would take off, that would be him. And I probably would put Robinson on, but this is what Guerin, he kind of led up to this, that he wants this team that is a heavy team to play against. And I think that's what he went for. And that's why he went this route. Will it work or not? We'll see. It's either going to prove to be the correct move or it's going to prove to be wrong. And I don't know which way he says. Anthony also put in here that he thinks the U.S. has the best goalie trio in the Olympics. Regular season, I don't disagree with you on that. And that's my only concern about this trio is, do they show up? How do they show up for this tournament? Is it the regular season form of them, or is it the playoff form of them? Because the playoff form of all three of them has had issues before.
Yeah, that's one that I was going to also bring up too. I agree with you on Hellebuck. I just don't trust that man. Regular season, he's okay, although Winnipeg isn't really doing great right now. I think they're kind of in the lower end of their division, but I don't trust that man. Whenever it comes to a high stress job, he explodes. Ottinger and Swayman, I do feel a little bit better about. I could definitely see them maybe focusing a little bit more. I would hope that they focus a little bit more on Ottinger just because Dallas is playing better, I think, compared to these other teams that they have. And just looking at their stats, I would just say Otter is the better player. Not better than Canada's goalies. I'm still pretty confident that Canada's goaltending is pretty strong. But yeah, I don't know. It's all very.
Yeah, I mean, I got no issues if you want to say Canada's better or US is better. They should be the final two teams, but when we get into some of these other rosters, that there are some surprise teams that I think that will give both of these teams some fits too. So we'll dive more into that in the February 5th one for sure. A couple more comments here. Let's see here. The issue with Canada's lines, they're very offensive heavy, very good players. Yeah, I mean, maybe a little bit. I mean, look, Marchand, we know can get under people's skins, and I think he's got a role to play in that. Tom Wilson, although he is offensive, he also can play that role of agitator and is a pretty good two-way player too. Mark Stone is a very good two-way player, so they've got some of those type of guys too that can go both ways. But with their front six, they may not need to play much defense, because if those guys start clicking, it's going to be scary. Yeah, we already talked about that one. Let's see here. The issue with Canada, they're not very good to workplace in the office. They're very one-dimensional, very score heavy. Yeah, we kind of talked about that too. So there we have it, folks. That's kind of the rosters. We will get more into all this fun stuff on February, in the early February show, where we'll dive into the schedule. We'll give some predictions. We'll give the games to watch out for, when they're going to be on, and how to find them, and all that good stuff as we get closer to the Olympics. Anything else on the rosters you want to throw out there, Sarah, before we wrap it up on hockey?
Austin Matthews, I will note him. He's now the all-time Leafs goal scorer, I believe. He passed Pat Sedin. I think it was goal 420 he tied, and 421 he passes.
Yes.
So that is good to note.
That's a Finnish name. It's Mats Sundin. That's how that one's pronounced. Just to give you a little.
My bad. I
Yeah.
pulled a Jack.
Yeah, I don't want you doing a Jack on us here. So. If Jack, if you're watching, we have to give you the shout out there on that side of it. All right, we got a lot of football to get into, so let's get into it here. We'll start off on the college football side of it. We're gonna just do a real quick kind of rapid fire because the guys did a good job on the show yesterday of breaking down the results of the games. Yeah, Matt Sundin. Sundin is how is the official spelling for Matt's. That was back in the day of with Doug Gilmore and all them from the Toronto, another good team that never got to the Cup final all the way. They lost to Wayne Gretzky in LA one year in 1993 before they lost to Montreal. But I digress. All right. The game on Friday night, Miami takes out Ohio State. You know, this one wounded me. I'm sure, Anthony, I'm sure you enjoyed this one. And, you know, tip of the cap, Miami just played better. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Their line dominated Ohio State. They caught Ohio State off early. They got up 7-0, and Ohio State's kind of driving, maybe looking like they're gonna, you know, get back into it and tie it up. And then the pick six, and from there, really, to me, the game was kind of over. I mean, Ohio State did make it close at 17-14, but similar to the Big Ten championship game when Ohio State's defense needed the big stop, they didn't get it. You know, Miami went on a nice long drive. They got the touchdown to give them back the 10-point lead. And you know, at that point in time, they're cooked. So, you know, to me, the team that played better that day definitely won the game and deserved to win. You know, Ryan Day, I think once again proved he's a really good coach when he doesn't have to call plays, but I don't think it's a coincidence that he went 0-2 in the games that he had to call the plays in. So, you know, it is what it is. Miami won that game, and I'm not gonna say anything bad about how they played that day because they definitely deserve to win it.
I'm surprised. I thought this was gonna turn into a grind my gears segment. You did really good on trying to keep composed about that.
I look. I mean, I can call it. Look, I've always been one that when the better team, how they played, wins that game. That's how I feel. He says I brought joy to have a ton of Ohio State fans that talk, you know, Twitter, Facebook, and they were. I know they were out there. I was never one of them. I said that this game was going to be close. I had 20-10 as the final score. So I did not see Ohio State blowing them out just because I believe that Miami's defense was good. I just honestly didn't think that Miami was going to be able to score points. I thought the Ohio State defense was going to play better than what they did, and they did not do it. The Giants might be bringing Day as their next head coach. There's lots of those rumors, but I'd be shocked if Ryan Day leaves Columbus, to be honest with you. Well, I don't see it happening, but you never know. You know, the right amount of money can lure anyone over there, but we'll see what happens. But I don't think that he's going to leave. So that was the first one, and then we had the two snooze fesses. The first one was Oregon just destroyed Texas Tech. You know, the score was 23-0. The game didn't even feel that close. I mean, Oregon kind of a couple different times, you know, they went for it on fourth downs instead of taking points. This game probably could have been 35-0 if Oregon really wanted it to be. The only part that was to me was surprised was the fact that JMU rounded up 500 yards of offense against Oregon, and then they just completely shut down Texas Tech. But this game was very one-sided, and Oregon just completely dominated this team, which I think kind of proved what I said all along, that the Big 12 just wasn't that good this year, and shows that Oregon was, in fact, a really good team.
Yeah, I watched this game. Holy turnovers. Talk about Apple turnover. Freaking, oh my God. It was I was rooting for Texas Tech this entire time. Like roll eclipse. I was there. I was on this ride and just watching it. I couldn't even imagine. I was with my best friend. She's been looking at places for her master's, and she was looking at Texas Tech. And I told her after that game, I was like, I'd hate to go to that school. Like it would be disappointing at this point. But it was an ugly game. I mean, I said that I could see it going either way, and in a way, I just didn't think it would go this way. Like this bad of a way. I didn't see it as a possible outcome, but
yep. and then the one, I'll be honest, of all the games, this is the one I enjoyed the most. Indiana just completely destroyed Alabama. All the love of the SEC and how the SEC was just going to show the Big Ten and that Indiana was a fraud. Indiana just came out and just stomped them 38-3. Mendoza, I think further proved why he won the Heisman and that it was legit, 14 for 16 with 192 and 3 touchdowns, and they ran for 215 yards. I mean, this game was really not close either, and I enjoyed every second of it. Watching the Alabama faithful leave the Rose Bowl in the fourth quarter in droves was very enjoyable for me.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say who didn't see this coming, but unfortunately there are some people that are delusional and thought Alabama really stood a chance against Indiana. I don't think I actually watched this game. I can't remember if I was working or not. But yeah, I just think this was easy to predict. And obviously I'm sure we can talk about it, but this is one of the teams that had the bye week and didn't lose. So
They were in fact the only team with the
the
bye
only
week
team,
that didn't
yes,
lose.
they the only team. So
And I will dive into that a little bit, but I will save that for after we do the last game. So then the last game, probably without a doubt, the best game as far as the back and forth, going right down to the wire, was Ole Miss and Georgia. Ole Miss, without Lane Kiffin, this game had it all. It was 4 lead changes. It was tie score with 56 seconds left when Ole Miss, finally gets the game-winning field goal with 6 seconds left. They added on a safety at the end. Trinidad Chambliss just had an amazing game, 362 yards, 2 touchdowns. This game was just a lot of fun. I enjoyed it, and I was happy for the results because I'm kind of, Ole Miss was one of the teams I was kind of rooting for because I hate Lane Kiffin, so I kind of want them to stick it to Lane Kiffin a little bit. So, I do enjoy that too.
yeah, I mean this was a back and forth game, really entertaining. Obviously, it didn't go it the way I thought it would. But I still give kudos to Georgia. I mean they did their best, but this is a great story. I mean, like we said, Lane Kiffin, I'm sure he is crying on his knees asking to be a part of this again. And oh my gosh, like freaking next week going against Indiana. Imagine if they pull that off. It would just be great. It's a great story.
I agree. Yep, I'm with you on that too. So, it is good stuff. So, with that being said, that's the quarterfinals. And I do want to point out, of these 4, there was only the one team that had the bye, or that didn't have, had the bye week that won. That was Indiana. So, over the last few years, since it expanded out to 12, the team with the bye week is now 1-7. And look, in fairness, for Ohio State, this has benefited them. Last year, they didn't have the bye. They went on to win it all. This year, they had the bye, and it didn't work out so well. So, Ohio State, as an Ohio State fan, has experienced both sides of it. My gut still says they're going to go to 16 next year, and the point then becomes moot because then these teams will have the home game. There's a lot of stuff to talk about as far as fixing it. All right, that's pretty funny. I got to put this up here. Chuck put in that Lane Kiffin is leaving LSU to become the next president of Venezuela because of how much Lane Kiffin likes to leave jobs. That Chuck is also another former Raider fan, so he remembers the Lane Kiffin days too. So I can appreciate that too. So, let's see here. The continuity is finally going to catch up to the Rebels because the assistant coaches, including Charlie Weiss Jr., are already 1 foot out the door and going to LSU this week, apparently. Yeah, there is some rumor about when these guys are going to officially be leaving, and we'll see what effect that has on them this week. So that gets us right into the semis. And with that, we'll start off with this one. And I know this is here. He wants to know our opinions on that. So we'll throw him out here now. But Anthony's got his pick in here. I think he's got Miami
He's a little
against.
biased.
Well, of course, and that's okay. That's part of the fun of it here. Hold on, I had his pick here. Where'd he go here? He had his. Where am I missing his pick? I think he has. There it is. Miami winning, and then Indiana. So he's got Miami then winning the national championship 17-14. So he's got, which, hey, if Miami's going to win this thing, it's going to be on defense. So let's get into these here real quick. Miami 12-2 going up against Ole Miss 13-1. This game is going to be very intriguing to me because, Ole Miss's offense is just really, really good. But I don't know if they've played a defense as good as Miami's, and Miami is clicking on all cylinders right now. this is one of those ones where my brain says Miami's going to win. And again, this is nothing against Miami. I think they're a great story. But my heart kind of wants Ole Miss to win just because, again, I'd love to see Ole Miss kind of stick it to Lane Kiffin at this point in time and get into the national championship game. But if I had to go with what I think Miami's defense is going to be really good in this game, better than anything Ole Miss has faced. And I think Miami is going to win this game. I'm going to go 21-17.
Okay. I'm gonna go on the other end here. I think Ole Miss has got it. Am I impressed by Am I impressed by Miami? Yes. Their defense was good. We saw it in the Ohio State game. I just, I mean, I'm on this ride with Ole Miss. Obviously a little bit, but I just think they got a little bit more. I mean, beating Georgia, I think is, I don't know. Actually, do I take that back? Is beating Georgia more impressive than beating Ohio State? Because I mean, Ohio State is Ohio State. They have their flunks. I'm not sure. I'm not actually sure. I might take that back. I'll have to think on that. But I think Ole Miss has got it. I think their offense is just a little bit better than Miami's defense. So I'm trying to think of a score though. I think it'll still be pretty back and forth, but it'll be low. I'm trying to think. 24-15.
24-15, like, yeah, and this is a point that I do agree with Anthony on too, that especially when you compare them to Miami's defense, Ole Miss's defense is not there. And he's got here, I feel the Lions disrespectful that they don't like any of Miami's games. We should shut down quarterback season. I agree. I do think the line is a little, but again, I think some of that too is the SEC bias, which just isn't going to go away. It is what it is. So we're going to have that for sure. That you're going to see that. So I think that this one, is going to, they're both, I think, going to be good games because you also have then the rematch, which will be in the Peach Bowl on Friday night, Oregon against Indiana. Of course, these two teams met earlier in the season. It was a really good game. It was in Oregon. They were tied at 20 into the fourth quarter. Indiana went on to win it 30-20. So the question I have is going to be is which Oregon's defense shows up for this game? The one that played against JMU and Indiana the first time, or is it going to be the one that just played against Texas Tech? Because if it's Oregon's defense that played against Texas Tech, Indiana could be in trouble. But I think Indiana is another one of these teams with a chip on their shoulder. They want to show the world that they belong and that they were there. So I do think Indiana gets the repeat and they do beat Oregon again. And I kind of see it around a similar score, that 30-20 that happened the first time.
Yeah, I agree. I think Indiana's got this. Don't get me wrong, Oregon's impressive. But Indiana's just have a hell of a season. There's just not really much to go about. And of course, they beat Alabama because that's impressive to some people. Which not really. But I think Indiana's got this. I still think it would be close. But I'm trying to think. Maybe 32-24 is what I'm going with.
So you got Indiana against you said Ole Miss, right? Or did you say
so Indiana versus Ole Miss.
And I have Indiana and Miami because that's what Anthony said. Yeah, I hedged my bets a little bit, Anthony. I said that I think Miami's going to win the game. That's what my brain says. My heart wants Ole Miss to win. And again, nothing against the Hurricanes. I just want to see Ole Miss stick it to Lane Kiffin. That's my only thinking behind that. It's totally biased as a Raider fan that watched Lane Kiffin stink as a head coach and watch him go from team to team. I just want to see Ole Miss stick it to Lane Kiffin and win this thing without him because I think he honestly didn't think that they'd be able to have it. And I have Indiana winning, but the game's going to be closer. It's going to be a defensive battle. In my opinion, Indiana wins by a field goal 27-24. Yeah, I could see it being a little bit closer. I could also see, 30-20. It's, that's another one of those maybe late. I think it'll be close until late, and then maybe I think Indiana pulls away, and we'll see what Mendoza does with that. So there we have our college football side of it. I know you've got to head out here shortly, Sarah. Anything you want to throw on the college football side before we wrap her up?
I would say my predictions is Indiana winning. Can't really say a score yet. I honestly would say I have to see how both of these teams play out. Obviously, of course, my prediction might not even happen. But yeah, I still think Indiana's got it. Number one.
There you go. I agree with that. All right. Well, I know you got to head out, so go take care of your stuff you got to take care of.
Bye, guys.
All right, so that leaves for now just me. I think one of the other guys is going to join in here shortly, but we'll keep it going here. So we'll go into some of the NFL stuff. We're going to start off with the games from this last crazy weekend that was. Let me pull up my notes here so I can roll through this here, and I'll welcome any comments here to keep try to keep us going on here. I'm going to do one little quick thing here real quick. There we go. Send that there. All right. So the weekend, of course, started. We're going to kind of work in a different order, not necessarily in chronological order. Seattle defeated San Francisco 13-3. That wrapped up Seattle's #1 bid. That was on Saturday. Kind of a boring game. It was an ugly game, but Seattle's defense once again showed up, and that defense is legit. So they will be your #1 seed in the NFC after beating San Francisco. That made San Francisco fall into the bye spot, or excuse me, into a wild card spot. Tampa Bay beat Carolina. This was a muddy game. There was a lot of rain that took place. Carolina had some chances late, but just couldn't get it done. So this put both teams in a unique spot where they were both sitting there at 8 and 9, and they were both dependent upon what Atlanta did against New Orleans. If Atlanta won, Carolina was going to hold on to the division. If Tampa Bay won, if New Orleans won, then Tampa Bay was going to win, because all the teams in the division finished 3-3. You had 3 teams at 8 and 9, and Atlanta somehow controlled the bye. They couldn't get in themselves. They controlled who was going to get in of these teams, and Atlanta won that game 19-17, putting the Carolina Panthers into the playoffs for the first time in quite some time. So a neat little story for them. Tampa Bay does get a win, but again, the way that they finished the season with so many losses, they really have no one to blame but themselves. And we'll talk a little bit more about Atlanta when we get into some of the stuff that happens here today on Black Monday with all the coaches that went. And then the crazy finale last night that decided, that the NFC North. Pittsburgh wins it, holds on for dear life, and wins 26-24. They get a late touchdown where they're up they miss the extra point gets blocked. At that point in time, it looks like they're going to win it pretty comfortably. But then Baltimore kind of completes a nice little play, and then they go on to, looks like they're going to kick the field goal, and they then have the field goal miss. And I feel bad for the kid. He's a rookie kicker. Luke misses the field goal wide right. It's kind of funny because Boss Man is joining in, and he knows all about wide right, unfortunately. But he misses the kick wide right, and you feel bad for the kid, just immediately. And of course, I've already seen all the death threats that have been talked to this poor, kid on social media and to his family about missing the kick. So your heart goes out for him. And Pittsburgh wins this game 26-24 to get our playoffs set up. And joining us here now is the Boss Man. How you doing there, sir?
Man, I am great. What a way to bring me in. Wide right. Oh,
I know. Like that?
Oh,
I'm sorry to do that to you, but at the same time, it was what the kick was. It was a wide right kick.
It was perfect. It was a perfect segue. It was. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. You got anything from the week that was in the NFL that you want to throw out there from these games or any of the other ones?
You know what, man? The NFL kind of got what they wanted. The big games last week of the season. The Pittsburgh and Baltimore game, like you said, ending in the missed kick. And then Carolina backdooring their way into the playoffs is crazy. It's like everybody was rooting for Atlanta. They got in, even though they lost. And it's interesting. I like that Carolina team. I mean, it's going to be a good experience. Who did they play first? Who did they play first?
Carolina gets the Rams.
That's what I thought. Okay, that's gonna be a tough task for them. So.
Yeah, and so here's the brackets as they stand now. So Denver and Seattle are your teams with the byes, and the wild card weekend is of course going to feature the 6 games that you see here. We're going to break them down here in order of how they will happen. We'll lead the Monday night game because we'll have the Monday show for that one, but we'll get our picks going here for that now. Now, of course, not in here too, but what did happen? The Giants won their game, which then made that the Raiders will be the #1 pick, even though they did defeat Kansas City. So the Raiders are officially on the clock for the first time with #1 pick since 2007. when they drafted a guy named Jamarcus Russell, and we all know how that turned out for the Raiders. So I am not very confident in my team with the number 1 pick, but we'll see what happens. We'll save that for another show, another time when we do our mock draft later again. All right, so let's go into these games here. The wild card weekend. The first game is the Rams at Carolina. This is a rematch of the November 30th game. Carolina won that one 31-28. Carolina forced 3 turnovers, held on for the win. So the question that I'll have for you here, boss man, is do you think that Carolina can repeat that win again, or do the Rams show them what they're all about and win this one?
Call me crazy. And I'm looking at MGM bet. The Rams are 10-point favorites, but they got to go to Carolina. I got this silly feeling. It's a small slither that if Carolina comes out, they have to play perfect mistake-free ball. They might have a chance. They might have a small chance. I'm not picking them, but because they play some really good ball. Bryce Young. You see the confidence rising on the kid. And I just, at home, anything can happen. And we all know that different teams match up with other teams very well. And, vice versa. You got some teams that come in and just can't keep up with what the other teams do. But I think Carolina got a small chance. But they have to control the clock. They have to keep Stafford off the field as much as possible. That's the key. That's the ingredients.
It's just like a Dumb and Dumber then, right? So you're saying there's a chance.
That's right.
Love it. I agree with you. I think Carolina's going to keep it close. I do think though the Rams will win this one this time, unless there's something weather related or something like that affects it. I think the Rams will learn from that. I think my gut's going to be is Carolina's just going to be one of those that they're going to be happy to get in there. But then again, they're going to have no pressure, on them at all. So that you talk about a team that's going in with nothing, at all to lose. It's the Carolina Panthers. So I think the key for the Rams is maybe to get up early. And then, because, the longer Carolina hangs around in that game, the more dangerous I think they're going to be.
Yep, I agree.
All right, then the second game that night is going to be on Prime. It is another rematch, of course, of the old division rivals. You got Green Bay going into Chicago. We'll see who's going to be quarterback for Green Bay. I think that's going to be a lot to where this game goes. It seems like Love should be ready to go, and I think Green Bay's chances improve with Love. Chicago's kind of limped in here at the end. I was very surprised with how they played against Detroit. I thought they might just try to steamroll Detroit, but I still think Detroit liked trying to take it to their old coordinator Ben Johnson one more time, and they did. But in the grand scheme of things, with Philly resting everybody, didn't really hurt Chicago. You saw a lot of these teams that kind of didn't really care where they were at. I think as far as 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, they knew that they're going to be playing next week. So you saw them taking advantage of that and resting some guys. So you get the fun divisional rematch. Look, the Bears were my surprise pick to make the playoffs. I love seeing them there. So I'm going to keep going with the Bears, and that's who I have winning this one. What do you got?
Hey, I said on a couple shows ago that the league needed the Chicago Bears to come back to the top. And it's good to see him home playoff game, like you said, division rival Packers. I'm going with the Bears in this. I got them on MGM bet as 1-point favorites. I'm gonna lean with the Bears. I'm gonna lean with their momentum. The Packers just got too much going on for me. Too many injuries at the wrong time. Give me the Bears.
We're in agreement on that one. I think it's good and I'm agreeing with you too. I think it's good for football to have the Bears be back into it. They're just one of those teams I think that has it. Now, this next one I know is near and dear to your heart. You got the Buffalo Bills at Jacksonville. I think this is the most intriguing of all the matchups at the wild card weekend, just because, you finally, if you're a Buffalo fan, you're finally looking at a year where you have no KC and no Baltimore, but you're the wild card team, which means you're going to have to do this, pretty much, on the road in every game that you have. So my question for you is, can Buffalo finally get over that hump and get in there, or will they suffer the same fate at the hand of a new team?
Well, first of all, Buffalo hasn't had too much luck against Jacksonville the last 5 years or so. It's always been the other Josh Allen dominating the game. So, But let me say this before we go into this Jacksonville game. I actually wanted to play New England. I wanted to go to New England as a Buffalo Bill fan. I wanted to celebrate their AFC East championship with them. I really did. I just wanted to go and just have some cake with them. But now, look, Dalton Kincaid is really, really big for Buffalo. He came back. He was injured. So Kincaid knocks. Then you have a slew of these receivers that at any given time, you don't know what you get between Shakir, Cooks, Shavers. You got some things that, and then of course, the guy that it's like if Josh Allen go into the sideline to get his cape to do Josh Allen things, James Cook cape is right beside his. So if they can get James Cook going, I like Buffalo in this one, going on the road to Jacksonville. I think Buffalo is one of those teams, and I'm not just saying this because those are my boys. I think those one of those teams that nobody really wants to play, because if they come in there, it is no advantage for them. You go to New England, they play in the cold, they play in the snow. You go into Jacksonville, you get a sunny day, offense is going to run wild. So it's just one of those things. It just depends on what Sean McDermott shows up. That's my key. I don't think Sean McDermott. I've said this a lot. I don't think when it comes down to chess, that's not Sean McDermott's thing. He's and I'll give him this. He's done a really good job with the defense this year. They're playing really good. Between him and Joe Brady, it's just I don't know. I'm going with my boys. I just need them to. They haven't come together. They haven't had that game where they had to come back in Cincinnati, the Baltimore comeback. Then they lose an ugly game at home to the Eagles. Like, the Eagles didn't score. I think Jalen Hurts had 3 passing yards the second half.
It was bad.
It was really bad. You lose that game, and Josh misses a throw that any other time he makes. So give me the Bills. They're favored by 1.5. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. And I think if it's a high-scoring game, I'll take number 17 to pull it out and get out of Jacksonville with the W.
I do agree with you. If it's high scoring, I think that favors Buffalo. And I also agree with you. I think if they're going to win this game, they got to cook with Cook, and Cook was on my fantasy team. So in my one money league, so I enjoyed watching him all season because he definitely had some big time games. And I think that's the key. I think they got to run the ball. I'm also not going to be surprised. I think you're going to see a lot of Bills fans get their hands on some tickets in Jacksonville. So it'll be interesting to see what the crowd dispersal is going to be like for this game too, because I think you're going to see quite a bit of red and blue in that stadium, and I think that's going to help Buffalo. This is hard for me because Duval Paul, who his team has suffered so much, but Buffalo was my preseason pick to win it all. So I'm going to take Buffalo too, just because they were my preseason pick, and I want to see that go a little bit further on.
Sounds good. I agree with you.
All right, so the next game on Sunday is going to be 4:30. This one of all the games, I think this is the one I'm probably least looking forward to. I just think it just seems boring to me. San Fran kind of plays a boring style. Look, Philly's been up and down all year. You listen to their fan base, you think that this team was going for the number 1 pick with the way that they have, but they did turn around towards the end a little bit. Both of these games are defensive oriented. This game just has that 13-10 kind of feel for me, because I just don't know what either one of these two offenses are going to be able to do. I think Philly wins just because they're at home, but this also, if San Francisco won this game, it really wouldn't surprise me either, just because of how bad Philly's played on offense down the last 6 or 7 games.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You look at this, and they're favored by 4.5. The Eagles are at home, which is kind of shocking to me. I don't think the 49ers are that far, but I do agree. I think this is one of those 17-20, 17-21, ugly, nobody can get anything going type games. And I think that favors the Eagles. That's crazy. I think that favors the Eagles because that's how they really played all season. So that's right up their alley. I guess I'm going to take the Eagles here. But you would think with Purdy and McCaffrey and what they have, the 49ers would come in here and, what do you think? 21 points on the Eagles should be enough. I mean,
Yeah, I think if they get 21, I think they win
yeah,
easily.
they win.
Yeah,
Yeah, the Eagles struggle. They might have a field goal day and kick them to death.
yeah. Just that's well, the way Elliott's been this year. If it's a field goal game, I don't know that I trust Philly. That may not be good for Philly because Elliott's not been good this year compared to
Yeah.
years past. So, yeah, this is the game I think of all of them. I'll be like, I'm not sure how much of it I'll honestly watch. This might be one that I skip out on for a little bit. So then the Sunday night game, and you talk. I think this is a team that everyone probably wanted to face, and the Chargers get them at New England. The chance for New England to prove that were not a regular season fluke, but they get the Chargers, who are kind of limping in a little bit too. They sat Justin Herbert. He would be good to go for this game. They've got a few guys that are going to be ready, and then it's Harbaugh's chance in the playoffs to show that he was worth the money to come back into the NFL. So this game is intriguing to me for that reason. And I don't know why. I think for at least one more week, I think New England will keep the magic alive, just because I don't trust the Chargers to be able to go into Foxborough and win this game.
Yeah, I agree with that, and especially how Foxborough is going to be. It's going to be cold, and depending on what weather drops, I think the Chargers are going to bow right out of this. Now, look, I talk a lot of crap about the Patriots, but they're very well coached. Vrabel is a very, 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 very good coach, especially defensively. I think his Tennessee years, he was just missing a quarterback. He might have that now, but I think with Drake May, I think eventually he's going to run into a team where that lack of experience is going to hurt him. And that's what's going to hurt the Patriots. And that's going to be their falter, but not this round. They're going to get through this round in Foxborough. They're going to move on.
Yep, we're in agreement on that one too. And then that leads the one that'll be Monday night. I'll break it down on the show next week, because we'll be on Monday before this one. You got you have the hottest team in the NFL, the Houston Texans, who are just rolling coming into this game, going up against the team that gets in off a missed field goal, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And of course, Mike Tomlin keeps the streak alive. And the question is, will Mike Tomlin's next streak be kept alive too, as far as being into the playoffs and then losing? So I'll let you give your predictions, because if you won't be on the show on Monday, I'm not sure what if you'll be on any of the other ones to give the predictions. So if you want to give your prediction for this game, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I said Buffalo might be one of those teams that nobody wanted to play. I think Houston's number one because their defense is absolutely disgusting. Now, does Pittsburgh get DK back for this game?
Yes, he's back. It was a 2-game suspension, so he's back for this one, which will help him.
And that's going to help Pittsburgh. But I think at the end of the day, I think if this was Aaron Rodgers from 5 years ago, a little bit more mobile to kind of get away from some stuff, they have a better chance. It's hard not to pick Houston here. They just on a roll, man. And like I said, their defense is very well coached. Offense is rolling. They're hot at the right time, man. I'm going Houston.
I like it. I think that's probably what will be my pick too next week. But I'll get the luxury of waiting to see if there's any changes to any of these teams' rosters or anything like that'll have an effect on that game. So there you have it. It's going to be a fun weekend coming up. You got Thursday, Friday. You got college football. Then you're going to have Saturday, Sunday, Monday. You're going to have the NFL playoffs. This is the fun time of year if you like football and games that matter.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, look, my birthday is Saturday, and I am off this weekend. I'm going to be football drunk this weekend.
You are, and hopefully you get a good birthday present on Sunday with your Bills winning for you.
Yeah, I would take that.
Yeah, I would too. Absolutely. All right. So that's the good at the side of football. But today is the day where coaches seem to lose their jobs, and we've had 4 so far that fall by the wayside today. And I just looked on ESPN to make sure no one else got fired beforehand, and it looks like right now we are still with 4 that go. The first one was, of course, actually late last night. You had Raheem Morris, and they also fired their GM Terry Fontenot. This one, for a little bit surprising to me, because Morris was only there for 2 years. Atlanta had won their last 4 games. They had a lot of injuries this year. You know, and even for the GM, I kind of a little bit surprised because it seemed like there were some good building blocks there. But the bottom line, you know, the GM's been there for, this was his 4th year. They have not had a winning record since he's been there. Overall, Morris went 16 and 18 in 2 years. This one, this is one that I kind of, you know, I let these up here as coaches screwed over. I kind of put this one where I feel like Raheem Morris is kind of getting screwed over on this one. I think he deserved one more year. The players all seem to want him to come back for another year. This one kind of surprised me a little bit. How about you?
Nah, me too. I think Penix only played 9 games this year, so it's hard to ask your team to win when your starting quarterback, you know, is missed a lot of time. So, you know, what, you know, like you said, the injuries. I thought he would get at least another season, fresh start. Maybe, you know, go through the season, get a whole season from Penix, and go from there. But it just wasn't the case, and Atlanta's moving on. So, yeah, I was definitely shocked about this one.
And I think Raheem Morris will land somewhere. Maybe not as a head coach this coming year, but somebody's gonna hire him to be a coordinator for sure. You know, and I think eventually he'll get another stint. I mean, this was his second. You know, Tampa. He was there for 3 years, went 17 and 31. But I think you saw some growth in him personally with Atlanta, and I think somebody's gonna see that and give him another shot. I don't think that he'll be without a job long. Probably as a coordinator somewhere next year, and then maybe as a head coach for when we do these next year.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you.
And then one local close to us, for me anyway, you know, Stefanski. This was kind of rumored. He's let go. You know, he's been there for 6 seasons. A crazy stat in his 6 seasons, the Cleveland Browns have had 13 different quarterbacks start while Stefanski was the head coach. That is just an insane number of quarterbacks that he's had to go through. You know, he was coach of the year for the 2 years that they went to the playoffs. But the bottom line for him is that 8 and 26 over these last 2 years. I don't say that I don't think that he got screwed. I think the only part of this that to me that I think is screwy is I don't understand how you fire Stefanski and Andrew Berry still keeps his job, because let's be honest, the falling point for this franchise was when they made the trade for Deshaun Watson, and they have not been good since then.
Absolutely.
And he's the one that made that deal. So how he survives this, just because I get it that they had a really good draft this year, but I don't know. To me, I think if you're going to let the coach go, then the GM should go too in this case.
Yeah, I definitely agree. In this case, like you said, that Deshaun Watson debacle was top tier. So he keeps his job for now. I think he's on a short leash though. I think next year we're talking about Black Monday, and if something doesn't improve, you're going to see him get the axe.
I could see it even happen before this point if Cleveland gets off to like a really slow start again, like a 1-6 or a start like that. I could see maybe Barry getting the axe even quicker than that and have a GM kind of in place, and then of course you get to wonder whoever they hire as a coach, you know, will he just be a one and done because the new GM will want their own guy.
Exactly.
I also will say this: we talk about guys that won't be without a job long. Kevin Stefanski is going to be that guy too. He is going to be on everybody's short list for some of these teams with openings. So my gut kind of tells me Stefanski will have one of these now. There are 6 openings. We'll get into all the openings here at the end of this thing, but I don't think he's going to be without a job long either.
Nah, not at all.
Yep. And then the one near and dear to my heart, that this was the third in order. Pete Carroll is told thanks, but no thanks after 1 year. You know, they brought in Geno Smith for him, and it just didn't work. 3 and 14. They were blown out in 11 of the 14 losses that they lost by 17 points or more. The offense looked inept, and they fired Chip Kelly, of course, earlier in the year. The interesting move, though, is that they do keep Spytek, their general manager, and the boy wonder, aka Mark Davis, has said that he is going to be turning over football operations to Spytek and one Tom Brady, and that they alone will be responsible for football decisions. We'll see. Who they hire as the head coach will let me know if that's really the case or not, because one name that of course is popping up immediately is one John Gruden, and I don't really think that the boy wonder wanted to let Gruden go the first time. So we'll see if they hire anyone not named John Gruden, then I'll believe that Spytek and Brady have control over this thing. If they hire John Gruden, that tells me that the boy wonder is still doing his best, his worst Jerry Jones impersonation, and is actually the one pulling the strings.
You know what's crazy? I think they may be in control, and maybe because I was surprised Pete got the axe after 1 year. You know, he's a vet, he's respected. For him not to get the time and cook a little bit more was kind of surprising. I think this may be the move where, like you said, they want to go get their guy to coach this team. They want to set it up. So, with that being said, if you think of it that way, it's not a surprising move.
I think what hurt Carroll in the long run is once the season was clearly done, and Geno Smith, look, the offensive line for the Raiders is god awful terrible. It'd be hard for anyone to be a really good quarterback with that offensive line. But Geno Smith clearly, even then times when he did have time to throw the ball, would just hold on to the ball way too long, way too many interceptions. And when it was clearly over with for this team this year, you have a guy that you took 2 years ago in Aidan O'Connell, and he just refused to play him. And I think that kind of may be awesome because I think the Raiders would have liked to seen what they had. And look, he ended up playing in the second half in the Kansas City game, led him to the comeback and looked pretty decent. I think the front office would have liked to maybe seen him for more than a half to know what the hell you have in this guy, because you got the number 1 pick in the draft, and it'd be nice to know what you think you have and what you need to do with that pick. So I think that hurt him. But here is the number, ladies and gentlemen, that if you really want to know how terrible the Las Vegas Raiders are right now, the Las Vegas Raiders for next season will be spending $50 million on coaches that are not coaching for the Las Vegas Raiders. $8 million is going to Antonio Pierce. $10 million is going to super genius in Josh McDaniels. $10 million is still going to Gruden. Pete Carroll gets a parting gift of $16 million, and his offensive coordinator Chip Kelly is still getting $6 million. So that is $50 million on coaches that Mark Davis will be doing. And another fun stat: this is the third coach fired by Mark Davis since 2023. For the Raiders.
Wow, that's
crazy. They're just not numbers that you want to have if you're rooting for the team.
No, not at all. That's wild, man.
Yeah. So we'll see. Now, I will say this for the Raider job. They got the number 1 pick. They're going to have their pick of what they want to do. You do have Ashton Jenney, who had despite as bad as the offensive line was, had a pretty good rookie year. He led some of the stats for rookies and rushing yards and touchdowns. You still got a really good tight end in Brock Bowers. So there are pieces there, and you also have $100 million in salary cap in a state that doesn't have a sales tax. So there is room for Vegas to get better quickly with the right people in line. So it's going to be interesting to see who wants that job. But I think the number 1 pick and having those other pieces does make the Raider job at least interesting.
Yeah, it does. Do you think enough time has went past for John Gruden to step back in without it being a circus?
No, I mean, honestly, I don't want Gruden back. I mean, I didn't like Gruden the second time around because I think the game is kind of passed him by. Like, I think the signs of that were there his second go around, because I just don't want it again. I'd like to see somebody new and fresh, and I just don't. I know there's a lot of people that love him. And I enjoy watching him open up the gift bags with all the different helmets and stuff more than anyone. And I think he's got some good ideas still. I just don't want it in Vegas. It's just ran its course. I just want somebody new and fresh. And I don't think that Brady wants him either. That's why I said we'll know. Like the big name that I've heard is Brian Flores, because he was there when Brady was there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be opposed to seeing what he could do again. Like I think that could be a really good hire as long as he gets somebody on the offensive side that can help. I think that could be a strong hire. So we'll see where they go.
Okay.
And then the last one, this one I don't really think was a surprise to anyone either. Jonathan Gannon's out in Arizona after 3 years, 15-36, 3-14 this year. Arizona is one of those teams. They seem like they always had a lot of close games. They just could never win any of them. And the big stat, unfortunately for them, they went they went 3-15 against the NFC West teams in his 3 years. So when you don't do well in your division games, it's hard to get into the playoffs. So this one of all of them, I think it's the one that got the least screwed. I think this is the one that you could see coming.
Yeah, absolutely. They were just a dumpster fire over there. So it's time for a change.
Yep, I think we're in agreement on that one. And so far, the no casualties is it does seem like Cincinnati is going to be sticking with Zach Taylor. No word yet out of Baltimore on Harbaugh, but it kind of seems like he's going to be sticking put. We'll see what happens with Tomlin, but obviously he's not going to get fired now until maybe after the playoffs. So it seems like right now that this is going to be it for the casualties for today, unless Baltimore decides later to move on for Harbaugh. I think with the injuries that they had to a lot of their key guys too, I think he's going to get one more year. So I think this is going to be it, which leaves, we have 6 openings right now: Arizona, Atlanta, Cleveland, Vegas, and the Giants of Tennessee. Do you see anyone else getting fired, or you think this is going to be it?
I think that might be it. Like you said, Harbaugh gets interesting. I mean, because they've been consistent. It's just like they've had these plays where the Mark Andrews drop, the missed field goal last night. They've had so many the Chiefs fumble when they were playing. They have so many things that's not on Lamar, not on Harbaugh. So it's just like it's hard to get rid of somebody that's if you give the injuries make a big play. If you get a healthy Lamar all season, he's proven that he's a top runner for the MVP, and it's. So I think that's it. I really do. I really think. Let me tell you this. I think if Pittsburgh loses really bad, I think you see Tomlin go.
Maybe. I agree with that. I think it might be.
Yeah, at home in Pittsburgh, I think if they get ran through and people start leaving in the third quarter, I think you see Mike Tomlin leave.
Good old KG with his riots. If Baltimore fires Harbaugh, he's rioting, and he's been saying this since I think week 6 about Glenn. I think Glenn's safe because I've seen everything I've seen. Seem like I think if he was going to go, I think that would have been one that would have happened today. I don't see any reason why the Jets would wait on that if they were going to fire him. And they had said that they were going to give him one more year. I think they realized that that roster was not one that he could do much with.
Exactly. And nobody, if you fire him, nobody wants that job.
No. I will say this too. They're speaking about how terrible the New York Jets were. They are the first team in NFL history to go the complete season without a single interception. And I don't even know how that's possible. Like you would think a tip would land in a guy's hands once. Like how do you go the entire season without a single interception? Is crazy to me.
Yeah, they almost got one last night off of Trubisky.
Yeah. And then he puts the Rooney's don't fire coaches, and that's true. They don't. So I mean, that's going to be the only part of this. So I'll ask this one to you though. I know with Buffalo being near and dear to your heart, if they lose in Jacksonville, does Buffalo make a coaching change, or is he safe?
I think that. Oh man, it's hard because when you think of as a Buffalo fan being in purgatory for 20 years and watching the Patriots dance all over you. And then Brandon Beane and McDermott comes and pulls them out. But they haven't won the big games. That's where they're lacking at. And it's hard to say that, because he's won. He's done a good job. But I think this is where you need kind of what John Gruden did in Tampa Bay, come in and get another voice with a team that's ready. But you need a coach that not a fresh, not wet behind the ears, not like a Ben Johnson type. You need somebody that has some experience, that's ready to come in and make those chess moves that I don't believe Sean McDermott can make when he plays Zach Taylor, when he plays Andy Reid, when he plays he's got the best of Harbaugh and the Ravens the last couple times. But I just don't think when you got those top 5 McVay, I don't think when he goes up against those, when it's a chess match, I think McDermott loses that every time against those top 5 guys. And if Buffalo is to win a Super Bowl, it's going to be on the back of Josh Allen and James Cook. It's just that. So he's going to ride those coattails to a championship. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
But I think you just have to realize where you have as a coach. He's that guy. He's between 10 and 20. I don't think he's a top 10 guy.
And well, hey, Allen and Cook aren't exactly two. If you got to ride your coattails on somebody, those are two pretty damn good players to ride on.
Oh, absolutely. Those coattails got air conditioning, heat, padded seats.
All right, see, KG's got a few more. He's got come on, boss. Gruden is like the 2008 Celtics living off one ring. Well, that's true. There's a little bit to that. That wasn't even his personnel. That was Dungeon Kiffin. Yeah, also true. That you won't hear me argue that one.
Very, very
And
true. But he was
it
the voice. He was
it
the
also
voice,
didn't help or didn't hurt that they're going up against Bill Callahan, and Callahan did
Yeah.
not even change the play calls or the signals. So John Gruden knew what calls the Raiders were making probably before the team did, because he didn't change anything before that game. But I digress as a Raider fan again. Just another reason for me to hate on my team. So all right, so let's do this. Let's assume that these are the 6 openings. You're a head coach in the NFL, and you're getting offered all 6 of these positions. What's your top 2, and what's the one that you don't want to go to?
Man. Oh man, that's interesting. I think I want a quarterback, right? So Atlanta, I like Jackson Dart. I like the setup in New York. Jackson Dart and Scatterbo. I like that setup.
And you'll have Malik Neighbors coming back next year.
You got
too.
Malik Neighbors coming back. Yep. And Cam Ward, he looked good in Tennessee. He put up decent numbers. I don't have their draft picks in front of me. If I had to go, I go Atlanta 1. Arizona, I don't want. I don't even call me. I got Arizona blocked. They can't even. Yeah. I'm in the NIL. I'm in the NIL, and it says do not contact for Arizona. Now Cleveland's interesting because you giving Shador a fresh start. I think he should get a fresh start. Of course, you got a top tier elite defender in Myles Garrett. So I'm gonna go Atlanta, Giants, Vegas, Tennessee.
I think I'm pretty close to you. I think I go Atlanta first too, because you got the young quarterback, right? And then if worst case, if he gets injured, you got Kirk Cousins who can do something. You got one of the most dynamic running backs in Robinson, and you got Drake London, and you got Kyle Pitts. It'd be great to see a head coach actually finally figure out a way to get Kyle Pitts like Kyle Pitts should be one of the top 3 tight ends in this league. And I think he just needs a coach to unlock that. And so you get those 4 things unlocked, and Atlanta's defense is decent there too. I think Atlanta would be my 1. I'd only put Vegas slightly over Cleveland, just because if you're a head coach and you want to bring in your guy, you got the number 1 pick. You pretty much, whoever you want is there, right? So you got that chance to bring in a young guy, whoever you want that guy to be. I'm going to go Cleveland 3, just because I think of all these teams, Cleveland's defense is the furthest along. But the thing that scares me for them is I don't know that they're going to give Sanders the chance. I don't know why. I think he deserved it. I think he showed that he's better than Gabriel. But for some reason, I think Cleveland is going to make a move and try to get into one of these 2 top spots to either get their hands on Mendoza or more. And I don't think they're going to give Sanders the chance. I don't know why. That's just a gut feeling I have. I hope I'm wrong, because I think he deserves the shot. But hopefully if they don't do it, then they let him go somewhere else where he's going to have a shot. And then I agree with you. I think the Giants is next. I think the Giants have more building blocks than Tennessee. Tennessee and Arizona are my 2. I wouldn't want them calling me. Just nothing against Cam Ward. I just don't think there's anything else in Tennessee other than Cam Ward right now. There's not much there. So I think the other 4 at least have some good stuff there where you can make and the biggest thing with Vegas is you got 100 million in cap space, and you got 100 million cap space. You can turn around a team real quick.
No, you can. You absolutely can.
All right. Well, there we have it. Anything else you want to throw out here on the NFL stuff before we wrap this thing up with a pretty bow?
No, we could wrap it up. I'm good.
Well, I appreciate you jumping on last second and joining me for the NFL section of this thing here. So our next show is going to be Monday, January 12th. We'll recap the semis and the wild card weekend. And again, just a couple shows that are going to be coming up later on down the pike. Monday, February 2nd will be the Olympic hockey preview. We will go into everything that is going to be with the Olympic hockey. We'll break down the men's. We'll break down the women's. We'll give you the dates of the games that matter most that will be on TV. We'll give you our predictions. We'll give you the schedule, everything that you're going to want to know for the Olympic hockey will be there. And again, we're going to do that for both the men and the women's draw because they're both going to be really, really good stuff. And I still do have the legalized gambling that has ruined sports. That's going to come up, but there's just been so much going on in the real sports world. And that's a good 45-minute segment that I've got built up for that thing right now. So when we get to some points in time later, we're going to bring that bad boy out.
Hey, quick congratulations to Boss Time, Showtime Sarah, for her championship in the picks.
That's right. She edged you out. Didn't, was it still just by one pick?
Nah,
or was
I think she got me by 3 or 4.
3? Yeah, she pulled away this last week. She did a good job.
Yeah, she did.
Yep. Very proud of her. She did way better than I did, that's for sure. So, all right. So again, as we approach the exit ramp here for this day, of course, you can watch us here live, YouTube and Facebook. But again, if you want to drive and listen to Drive Time while you're driving, you can do that on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pocket Cast, Podbean, Castbox, and Odyssey. So many places for you to watch, or listen to this show, and of course, all the great shows on the Sideline Junkies Network. And just in case you forgot what those shows are, here's a list for you. We are on pretty much every night of the week now. Monday night, coming up later, we'll have the Pretenders and Kenders, and then you got the great shows on Tuesday, Unapologetic Sports, and then the Tuesday Night Flight, where Boss Man BJ sometimes makes a great appearance, and then Nothing But Net on Wednesdays in the passenger seat. Then the Thursday Night Throwdown, the Gridiron on Saturday, WrestleManiacs, which started this all way back in the day, and then the Sunday Morning Rise, which will get you ready for the fun games coming up on Sunday. So there's always so much here, and you being the leader of this, I want to thank you again, because I think we're hitting my 1-year anniversary, which is crazy to think that I've been doing the show now for a year.
Yeah, man, it's been a great ride. I love what you're doing here, man. And I told you when we first talked, I said as you do them, you're gonna get more comfortable, and it's gonna flow.
Well, I appreciate that. And anything else you want to wrap up here or say before we say bye-bye?
Hey, I'll make a teaser announcement. We're turning into a 20. I want to say 24/7. We're turning into a real network here, so you'll be able to see our replays probably starting hard the 11th or 12th, and you'll see a replay of the last week's shows. You can catch up on what you missed, and we're going to be in your face all the time. So just get prepared.
Get prepared to see this ugly mug all the time. Great.
Yeah, me too. You're going to see me too. So look, I appreciate what you do.
I appreciate you jumping on. And so as I end every show, make sure you tell your loved ones that you love them and hug them, because tomorrow's not guaranteed. But hopefully you'll be back with us next week. And so we will see you then. Until then, see you later.
Peace.